Chrono Odyssey is hiding something behind the front of its imaginary studio, Chrono Studio. Through the last several days, I have gone deep into the darkest corners of the sleaziest Reddit forums, into the deepest recesses of Korean websites, and into places that Logan Paul might not even dare to go. All to answer two burning questions. Who is Chrono Studio, and why are they only 18 months old? I'm the Chief Peasant. Join me as we go down the rabbit hole. To do this story justice, we have to do a bit of time traveling, which is fitting seeing how Chrono Odyssey is about time travel. Our first jump into the big ball of timey-wimey stuff takes us back to the year 2020. On December 4th of 2020, a company named NPIXEL revealed Chrono Odyssey in a 3-minute long trailer that set the internet abuzz, with its next-gen graphics and its beautiful world. Now pay attention to that name NPIXEL. That's going to be important here in a little bit. You see, NPIXEL was the first developer of Chrono Odyssey. Well, kind of, but we're going to get back to that. Gematsu and MMO Culture reported that the game was supposed to release in 2022, and would be available on PC, consoles, and mobile, a fact that shocked many viewers at the time due to its advanced graphics. So if Chrono Odyssey is being developed by Chrono Studio, who are these NPIXEL people anyway? Well, for that we've got to jump back a few more years. NPIXEL was founded back in 2017 according to KED Global, by Bae Bong-goon and Jeon Hoon-ho, who previously founded Nexus Games back in 2013, the studio that created Seven Knights, a popular gacha-style mobile game originally released in South Korea, but eventually made its way to the whole world. And it was, well, kind of a typical gacha game. In January of 2021, NPIXEL released its first game, Grand Saga, in Korea. Later they released it in Japan and most of the Eastern markets. This was a heavily monetized gacha-style game, and in the purest sense of the definition, it was pay to win. They later decided to release it with a global release on November 13th of 2024, and 4 short months later, on April 30th, the game's global servers were shuttered. The reason for this shuttering was widely reported to be heavy monetization, empty worlds, and AFK AI-driven mechanics. And there's an article here on Gacha Hub that reports that. At the moment, our narrative is looking a bit rough. The studio that did the lion's share of the work on Chrono Odyssey originally planned to release it on mobile, and their name to fame is 2 Gacha Games. But this is where it gets good, and hopefully I stop boring you. In February of 2024, before Grand Saga had even had its global release, NPIXEL spun off Chrono Studio and the team that was currently making the game into its own studio. And I apologize, my Korean is a little non-existent, so this article right here is translated into English. And I'm sure Google Translate made some mistakes, so any Koreans, please don't crucify me in the comments. But we're mainly interested in 3 lines. The first one reads, NPIXEL, hereinafter referred to as the company, at the extraordinary general meeting of shareholders held on February 7th, 2024, resolved to divide its Chrono Odyssey game software development and supply business division. And the second line we're interested in, and establish a new company established through division, tentative name, Chrono Studio Co. And I highlighted the final line, but the gist of that line is that all the shareholders maintained shares in both studios now through a split based on proportion to its value. But hashtag not a lawyer, so take that with a grain of salt. But I can hear you saying, in your very dignified voices, but peasant, so they spun off the studio into its own thing. Isn't that good? It's now separated from the Gacha Games. Is it though? You see, Chrono Studio is its own studio in name only. It is still 100% owned by NPIXEL. Per this information from Bizno.net, someone we know is listed as the representative. Oh, who is that? Bae Bong-goon again. Oh, but they still could be separate, right? How about this information from Gematsu showcasing that Chrono Studio is a subsidiary of NPIXEL? Still not convinced? I got you. I can respect the skepticism. How about this article from Game Press? Who's that listed as Chrono Studio CEO? Yep, you know him and I know him, none other than Bae Bong-goon. Well, if you're still not convinced, all the links are in the description. So why does this matter, and what could possibly be the reasons for spinning them off into another studio? There are a couple reasons why this could happen. Well, at least according to ChatGPT, this guy on Reddit, or some dark internet chat rooms. Again, hashtag not a lawyer. But the one I think our research shows is the most probable is risk management. You see, if you spin off a studio into its own company, and that company fails, it can go bankrupt without taking out your larger entity, in this case, NPIXEL. So let's do a quick recap, since we just went over a lot, and I'm kind of lost. NPIXEL is a studio that makes gacha games, and their newest game, Chrono Odyssey, was originally supposed to release on mobile as well. Cue the gacha games. 14 months ago, they spun off Chrono Studio into its own thing, most likely to mitigate risk. But make no mistake, Chrono Studio is still very much NPIXEL. So if NPIXEL is looking to mitigate risk, what are they worried about? And why is there nothing about Chrono Studio on their website, seeing as they own it? Well, to explain that, we've got to go back in time to Chrono Odyssey's gameplay reveal in 2023. You see, before Chrono Studio had even been created, NPIXEL was releasing gameplay, and it looked really good. Like, for the time period, it was top tier. Even some would say better than top tier. Like, here, I'll show you. This game looks really amazing, and so why am I so skeptical? For that, we need to do one last time jump, and go back a little less than a week ago. June 20th, 2025. Chrono Odyssey went into closed beta, and I was fortunate enough to get an invite. And I cut my teeth on MMOs like Final Fantasy XIV and World of Warcraft. And at the time, I knew next to nothing about this game, so I was excited to jump in and make a really cool video about an up-and-coming, quote-unquote, indie MMO. At first the game was extremely glitchy, frames dropped sporadically, and it had the worst pop-in I had ever seen. But I kept telling myself it's a beta, and trying to have a positive outlook because I really wanted these guys to succeed. But the whole time I was playing the game I had this super weird deja vu, like I had been here before. I didn't need tutorials or instructions, I knew these mechanics. They were somehow so familiar, yet just a little different. And then it hit me. The weapon skill system, the weirdly convoluted and in-depth crafting and gathering system, the combat. I had seen this before, except I had seen a better, more polished version of this. That game was not the 2023 footage of this. That game was called New World. It was like if Temu and AliExpress had a New World-shaped baby, slightly deformed, and it didn't work as well. But yep, I had seen this all before. This was almost a reskin, and if not that bad, a complete mechanical ripoff of Amazon Games' debut MMO, New World. Every action I took felt just like it. Chrono Odyssey isn't innovative. It's not groundbreaking or genre-defining. I earnestly believe it is a direct and possibly deliberate ripoff of New World, just with a bit more story. And that story is extremely boring and one-dimensional. It lacks the polish, the mechanical fluidity, and the graphical fidelity of New World. In fact, here's some side-by-side footage from that original gameplay from 2023 and the current gameplay. It isn't even as good as its own trailer. And it's hard to believe that that was really gameplay. Now, there are people online that want to defend this game, and if you like this game, I'm glad. Everybody has the right to like whatever game they like. But the thing that I keep hearing is, oh, it's an old build. It's an old build. It is not that old of a build. It is impossible for this build to be older than the 2023 footage. Chrono Odyssey wasn't even technically a studio at that point. And I'm not telling you shouldn't buy this game. And to be fair, God is a Geek reported that it will be buy-to-play, not free-to-play. But that doesn't mean it won't still have in-game monetization. So let's wrap this all up and put a bow on it, shall we? This is an era where every game must prove its right to your time, and even its right to exist. Last year, 19,000 games were released on Steam. Chrono Odyssey has done nothing to prove it deserves your time or my own. In fact, this game has done the opposite. Its gameplay is derivative, possibly going so far as to completely rip off the gameplay of a different MMO. Its story is boring, its corporate structure suspicious, and its monetization status unknown. Will Chrono Odyssey be a critical success or find an audience? I don't know. And hear me out, I rarely make negative videos, because I like to lift up the awesome work of the devs and teams that make games possible. I love this industry, deeply, and I wish every developer acting in good faith success. But we have seen red flag after red flag after red flag for Chrono Odyssey. And everything I've researched, everything is telling me this game is a huge red flag. And we've seen red flags in games in the past. Games like Concord, The Day Before, and the recent game Marathon. And the list goes on and on. So what do I think? Before I said I don't care if you buy this game, but I take it back. Don't buy this game. There are too many developers and publishers out there that deserve your patronage. Chrono Studio does not. But there's another subset of developers that see communities and players as big dollar signs. And I'm going to take a shot here given their track record and say Chrono Studio and NPIXEL will have a heavily monetized Chrono Odyssey come release. And it will be full to the brim with microtransactions. Enough is enough. It's time for studios to stop seeing us as player bases to exploit, and instead see us as communities to build. This isn't the video I intended to make, but it is the video I felt compelled to make. If you have an opinion, you disagree with me, or just want to say hi, let me know in the comments. I'm the Chief Peasant, signing off.